So Mary was just a really typical client of mine. It was probably around a decade ago that she started coaching with me, and she was coming up to her 50th birthday at the time. And she was about 25 to 30 kilos overweight at the time. And so, we knew we had, probably 9 months to a year to get her to her goal weight and stabilize that weight and get her on her new path, heading to 50 and feeling fantastic. So anyway, Mary was someone that earned huge money. She was in sales and she earned hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. She was extremely successful, right? So you kind of think, oh, great, successful woman, easy to coach. Not always. Okay. So anyway, so we started her. Now, how I worked as a coach back then is that my main program works in 8-week cycles. So people lose weight and then they stabilize for a couple of weeks. And so we do what's called rounds. So Mary stepped in, and her first round she absolutely nailed. She did a fantastic job. She lost about 12 kilos, which is about 25, 26, 27 pounds or something. Think about this, right? 2.2 at the time, and nailed that, and everything was great. And she came into her second round, and that was a bit slower, which is normal and expected. So I think she lost about 8.5 kilos around that time, but more than that, she was kind of sitting around overall the 20 kilo, just over 20 kilo mark for those 2 rounds, which was fantastic. She'd done that in 16 weeks. And so she was on a roll. And one might think, oh, this is great, just easy client, but I've been coaching for 25 years, right? And by that time, about 15, 20 years. And so I knew what was coming. And this is what happens. And I think a lot of you will relate to this. I knew that she'd get into either a comfort zone with her weight loss journey, or B, she'd start sabotaging herself, because that's when it starts kicking in, right? Now, I'll get to the different types and styles of sabotage in a minute, but for her, it kind of kicked in this round 3. So anyway, we get to kind of round 3, and for some reason she kind of stop, and this is really when the falling off and on the wagon thing started, which is not a terminology I like. But anyway, I could do a whole couple of hours on the wagon dropping on and off. But anyway, she would kind of started losing it. And so we had a really serious chat one day, and she started confessing some stuff to me. She said that actually I'm not living the life I want to live. She said, what I really want to do is leave my husband. Now, no, I'm not suggesting you go and leave your husbands. I'm just going to tell you about Mary's story, right? She was in a really, really unhappy relationship, and she wasn't living her dream life. And I think it was kind of like a midlife crisis, I guess, for her, which is expected and normal and healthy as we move through various life changes, right? It's not just a midlife crisis. We have a quarter life crisis, and there's different crises at each decade. But for her, she wanted to live at the beach. She wanted to sell their inland home. She wanted to, which was her dream home, by the way. She had a dream home, but she wanted a new life. She just had this dream and this vision of living at the beach, being able to walk the beach every day. And she confessed to me that she found herself walking around the supermarkets at night to avoid going home to her husband. Now, he was kind of, older, middle-aged and grumpy, probably a bit low on testosterone. He had the grumpy man syndrome, and they'd just grown apart over many, many, many years. And so she was finding herself avoiding and da-da-da. Now, so what ended up happening as we got into it is that she was loving how she was feeling within her body. She was enjoying shopping. She also had a bit of a shopping addiction, because where was she getting her pleasure? She got her pleasure and her needs met through work. She wasn't getting it in her private life. So she was getting it through a bit of a shopping addiction as well. So here she was enjoying shopping, buying all these new clothes, really enjoying that for the first time. And what she recognized, though, is that she was avoiding certain feelings in her life before she met me, right? So before she met me, she was using food and wine and shopping addiction and these things to kind of distract herself from really what she was feeling intrinsically behind the scenes, which was she wasn't happy in her relationship. She wasn't really that happy in her career, although it paid very well. She really wanted a different lifestyle. And so what ended up happening is what I call the sabotage dance. So Mary was getting close to goal. And what she'd done in that last round, in those last 10 kilos that she needed to lose, is she started recognizing, flip, this is actually working. And I've attached all this meaning to the outcome of this goal. There were a few things going on for her. She really kind of recognized that she'd been using food and wine and things like that she was, pretty much had given up during my coaching, to numb herself, to avoid reality, avoid pain, and seek pleasure in a sense, right? So we had to have a very honest conversation. And I said to her, you've really got one of two choices here. You're either going to need to find happiness and peace within this relationship and find excitement and get jazzed about something in your life and reinvent yourself in some way and try and rekindle this relationship. Or your other choice is really to live your dream, leave your husband if that's what it takes. If this is the case of what's going on, and this is what your real dream is to live at the beach, right? And to reinvent yourself and start a new life. They're your two choices. Now, neither choice was easy, right? If you think about it. So for a while, Mary did the sabotage dance. She stepped in and she said, yes, I want to be the best version of me. So I'm going to do that and I'll get on the plan and feel fabulous and feel empowered. And then, oh no, this is too much. This is comfortable. This is easy. Because in order for her to live her dream, she had to risk everything. She had to risk the potential of never finding love again, which is a story we tell ourselves. What if I never find the new man? What if I spend those next half of my life on my own? What do I have to give up financially? I have to give up half of my assets, half of my home. I've got to downsize. And is the payoff of living my dream and my happiness worth all of that? So what happened is she just kept stepping in and out. And here's what I said as a coach: this has got nothing to do with diet. You're sabotaging yourself because you're using food as a form of medicine, a way of numbing yourself, a way of avoiding reality. You're using alcohol and wine the same way. And really, if you want to transform, you have to do the inner work to create the outer desired result that you want. And anyway, this dance went on and on for a while, but eventually she nailed it. And she made the decision actually to leave her husband. So she sold her dream home. She moved to the beach. And I'm happy to say she did actually, within a couple of years, find her dream man. And she is living a kick-ass, very, very happy life. But I'm telling you this story because I want you to see the link between why it is sometimes we sabotage ourselves. Sometimes we sabotage ourselves because we have a fear of the unknown, because to stay in our comfort zone, to stay exactly where we are, is more familiar to us than to going into the outer unfamiliar territory, to go into the unknown, to risk things, to go beyond that. But what happens, what I see, is that people get to a point in life where they become so unhappy with what's familiar that the cost of staying the same outweighs the cost of change.